to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. This is episode number 66, and although that's close to being, a number that can put a hex, a bad voodoo on something, I gotta say that's not the case on this one. As we've been doing it the last few episodes, jam-packed, and that continues this week. As I said last week, we were overflowing from the prior week. Well, behind the scenes, we couldn't even fit it all into last week, so there's even more spillover. It's just like a waterfall down to a waterfall, down to another waterfall, cascading onto your ears, your minds, your lives here on the Warzone Amateur Hour. So much going on, the excitement brimming within me. But before we dive into all that, I gotta turn to the cowboy who was getting hot and heavy this week and ask him, how was your week in the Warzone on Caldera and Rebirth Island?
Wow, that was one of the more visual intros I think you've ever given. Just the waterfall into waterfall into waterfall, just very visceral. I love when you have that passion coming out of the gates. But yeah, my week was pretty good. I had some really great games, definitely had some victories, actually edited a couple of win of the weeks that'll be going up on our Patreon here soon. So finally got some wins to throw on the old Patreon. But it was a great week. I've been refining my guns a little bit more, been tinkering with a couple of new build outs to my Cooper carbines, which I'm using now as sniper support and as a secondary to the Bren. And thanks to you and a little cheat sheet that you shared with me via Twitter on my cell phone. But it was a great week. Had some great times. Old Mama Cowboy was visiting the cowboy and the cowgirl this week, so not the funnest having your mother watch you play video games, but I did what I had to do to get in the Warzone. How was your week in the Warzone?
Well, did you make her proud?
She didn't know what was going on. She doesn't like violence, so, and as you well know, my kill death comms can get quite explicit, which were a little too much for the older cowgirl there, so I wouldn't say she was enjoying my gameplay.
That was my second question, was did she happen to catch a glimpse of these horrific utterances that you spew out? I know a lot of them are actually mother-based towards the opponent's mother.
Yeah, I cut out like the mother-based insults. And instead of screaming them, I would just whisper them, which actually adds a whole new level of creep factor in a kill cam when instead of screaming, "Your mom's a whore," you whisper, "Your mom's a whore." It just adds like a different vibe,
Wow, quite a vibe, quite a picture painted. Before I touch on my week, I want to circle back. As you mentioned the Patreon, we've been posting some videos, some exclusive content. Gotta give a shout out to our new patrons this week. We had a great friend and, supporter of the podcast, now making it even more official, Reginald. We also got a fellow, I don't want to say, I'm going to just call him Eric P. I know some guys don't like to be like doxed here. They like to go by their gamer tags, but we don't really get that right off the bat. And a massive thank you to the existing patrons as it is. Huge thanks. The Cowboy just this week re-upped our hosting bill. We were able to take that from the supporters, put it into the website. You all are supporting the Amateur Hour empire. We are riding on the shoulders of giants, and that are you, our patrons. So for those who haven't already, check us out. See if you can, we got a $5 tier. We got a $20 tier.
Yeah. We really appreciate it, obviously, but let's not get too deep into that. This is the top of the show. Let's keep those energy levels high.
Well, we said we're going to plug, all right, shamelessly, early and often. So that's what I'm doing here.
You're
that
right.
said, my week was a mixed bag. Early on, which is going to be our kind of first topic, the Warzone was in a state of imbalance, which we were used to months and years back, but as of recently, kind of enjoying that state of weapon, parity. But that was thrown into chaos with some accidental, it seemed like stealth buffs that were, again, as soon as they're discovered in the community and tweeted out, it's just like a wildfire. And if you don't have those guns leveled, you're shit out of luck. And as luck would have it, I was shit out of it there with those this week, majorly. But that said, they corrected that fairly quickly. And since then, as in my most recent session, been loving it. I mean, I played around with you a few days ago where I was just like locked in. Like I had played a round of Clash beforehand, and I don't know if that was it, but for some reason I was just like feeling it.
Yeah, you were definitely cleaning up everybody else's injuries to other players. Even commented from a friend of ours that you were stealing his kills. So that, yeah, you were definitely frying in your own little lane.
I don't understand. I wish more, I know the people that play with us, like when Cowboy does something good, I cheer him on. I give him the fucking high five. I give him this. I'm stoked for everyone when they're doing well. But, when Tron's doing well, it's chop him low at the knees, backhanded compliments. I don't know where it's coming from, but you know what? I'm going to respond only with positivity.
I don't know what you're talking about, backhanded compliments. You were playing fantastic as well as stealing everyone else's kills.
I wasn't stealing any kills.
All right. Well, no. What loadout have you been using? Because you have been playing better.
Well, this week I've kind of committed to leveling up a new SMG. That's the Owen gun. After, the nerfs to the MP40, the issues with I like the MP40, but I've always kind of been attracted to these other options, and I can't get the well gun, as we've said.
Yeah.
Clash, I did unlock one of the 15 towards the well gun, but I'm not running 15 fucking rounds of Clash.
So you, in Clash, if it's 10 kills, right?
10 ADS kills with an SMG, which I got like 15, 20 in a round of Clash.
Oh, so it's possible. Okay, so there's the key if you want to put in the time. It's not impossible.
Yeah, but a round of Clash is like 15 minutes plus. Do the math there. 15 times 15. That's a lot of minutes.
Yeah, and is the well gun that good?
It's kind of sounds like since this, which we'll touch on, the broken gun was fixed, kind of the unquestioned, seems like SMG meta. It sounds like you can really build it however you want. You can build it ADS or, quick, hip fire, longer range, shorter range, all that shebanger.
Okay, yeah. I've played with it a few times. The ground loot well guns are certainly not too bad to get right off the rip, but I don't know if I've played with like a fully leveled well gun and enjoyed it.
Yeah, try picking it up after you find one off a dead body. You'll see how you like it. The fire rate's pretty fantastic. But that said, yeah, been leveling the Owen gun. Finally, last 2 days committed to it. It's not fully leveled, but I'm like, I'm going with it. We're playing with it. We'll get it to where it needs to be. And then that said, pivoted back from the STG to, let's just talk about it. The Bren had its Queen 705 barrel like reverted back to the pre-nerf state, where according to JGod essentially has like an unlimited range. There's no damage drop off, so it cranks the damage at all ranges. If you've noticed, a lot of people are running the Brens out there. You weren't aware of this. That is why. So I pivoted back to that. Mine's still not leveled up all the way, but good enough to make it count. And then the other SMG that was absolutely broken, again, kind of game-destroying broken, was the PPSH Vanguard. Had a stealth buff. Accidentally, they were pretty sure it was. It made it it sounded like arguably the most broken SMG in the history of Warzone. Did you encounter that at all?
Oh, yeah. I was getting shredded left and right with that thing. I didn't have it leveled up. This is a classic... something is wrong with the gun. It gets exploited by the sweat lords. Everybody jumps on board, and if you don't have the PP, in your holster and leveled and ready to go, you're really kind of like playing with blanks. You know what I mean? So I didn't have the necessary equipment leveled up to enjoy the broken nature of it. So I was getting fried, but it wasn't as fried as full on broken situations of the past. But it definitely didn't. Yeah, it wasn't doing great. But no, I didn't get to enjoy the unbound PP. What about you?
I haven't touched my Vanguard PP really at all. So I was on the outside looking in. I'm like, showing up at the paintball arena, renting the gun from the desk. I got like the single fire fucking flopper. Meanwhile, everyone else has got like those crazy auto cockers. It's like, I'm just getting fucking shredded. That's what it felt like. But I was picking them up off of dead bodies when I was able to get kills. And I mean, it melted. The hipfire build was absurd. Like, literally delete people, multiple people, in a matter. The time to kill was like 0.03 of a second or something like that.
Really? That's pretty fast.
Yeah, it's remarkable. And the one thing to me, though, that pisses me off during these times is you'll see these people, like streamers, you know, good and bad alike, who be like, dude, I dropped fucking this many kills with this gun, check out this play. And it's like, that, to me, that's not impressive if you're working with the broken gun, if you're exploiting the game. Like, maybe if you're using, you know, like the bullfrog or fucking, you know, give me something. Again, like we talked about a few weeks back, like give me the more basic tools you're using. Those to drop kills, that's cool, but like, oh cool, you fucking exploited the broken gun and beat up on some kids. You know, I'm not impressed.
Yeah, show me back to back headshot snipes with a car across map, and then I'll be impressed. But don't send me these, 40 kills, the game is broken. Yeah, it's broken. Exactly. You know?
Yeah.
I hear you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, we're not posting videos like that for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, come on. But that said, the PP broken, Bren broken, but on February 24th, they issued a patch, which, interestingly enough, it only patched the PPSH, which, even more interestingly, the PPSH actually got a buff during that fix. So essentially it was, sounded like it was a neck. Yeah, it was an issue causing higher than intended max, mid, and minimum damage values for the PPSH. So they fixed that. But then they also buffed the neck damage multiplier, went up from 1.1 to 1.3. So they nerfed the PPSH in a way, but it's still, from what I've seen, it's absolutely viable. It's still very much in the meta. The debate now is kind of like between that, the Owen gun, and the well gun for the SMG of choice. But still, if you have your PPSH leveled up, like, you can still be rocking it and not really going to suffer many consequences. It's just no longer broken.
Yeah, it sounds like you just got to be really accurate name for the neck with that thing, huh?
Neck and head, boys and girls.
Yeah. Again, I don't have the PP, not going to be leveling that up, unfortunately. But if someone wants to drop one for me, I'll give a PP a hold and see how it handles.
See how it feels. But again, the nerf, or the Bren, not touched. So as of the date of this recording, seems like kind of the AR of choice. I know your Bren's leveled up. Have you pivoted back to that? How's it feeling? What are you thinking about this?
Yeah, so I really have, I kind of tipped my hat on this earlier in the episode. I am running two loadouts primarily, two overkill loadouts. I have my Car 98, and that is paired with a medium range Cooper carbine, which I really love that gun. That's my favorite. I mean, that's my favorite loadout. I really love both those guns. Of course, the Cooper is an AR, not an SMG, so I haven't really been touching the SMGs. And then when you move to my non-sniping loadout, I am still running the Bren, and I am running a shorter ranged Cooper. So we're talking about, I'm leaning heavily on the Cooper, and I can't step away from the Bren. I really like the Bren. It's a great gun. But that's really what I'm working with. And then, of course, I got a couple of loadouts. I got a couple of, like, AR Ghost loaded loadouts. I got some, like, a SMG Ghost loaded loadout, fully loaded loadout, which is just an MP40 build that has the fully loaded on in case I need that SMG. But, I'm rocking a double AR, especially when I'm playing Caldera at the moment.
What's the double AR?
The Bren and the...
That's an LMG.
Is the Bren an LMG?
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe double AR ammunition. How about that?
Okay, well, I like that you're really taking advantage of that versatility on the Cooper. Just today, I shared a tweet with you from a fantastic Twitter account and a website we've already talked about, which is Warzone Ranked, or is it Warzone Loadout, pardon me. And excellent Twitter account. I don't know if they've been tweeting like this, but they've certainly stepped up their game. If you're looking for builds, if you're looking for the meta, these guys really break it down, easy to digest, and they had an excellent tweet talking about the Cooper, saying it's the most versatile gun in the game. It's meta in all playstyles, and definitely one you want to have leveled up. And they have 4 different loadout configurations for it. And I like to see you're kind of taking advantage of that. You got 2 loadout configurations for the same gun. I got to say, when I get my hands on a ground loot one, usually good things happen.
Yeah. And also, maybe you can retweet. I don't know if you retweeted that from our Twitter page, but if anybody, we can plan to do that. And if anybody wants to know, I'm using the mid-range one with my cars, my sniper support. It's there. It says sniper support build on it. I'm using that one, but I made a modification actually. So then they have like the aggressive with like the higher TTK and better movement speed, which is on the far right of the diagram. I've modified that a little bit because I was playing with it today and I realized the recoil is just a little too much for me. On the really short range, like quickest TTK, quickest fire rate one. So I think I changed it back to the M1941 hand stop to give it a little bit more recoil. I put a different stock on it. So I was tweaking with it, but that's the thing. The Cooper, you don't have to necessarily follow one single build with this thing. It's a super versatile weapon. You can build it to whatever kind of play style you want. And I feel like it's got a real versatility where you got too much recoil. Well, you can tweak it just a little bit. You may lose some fire rate. You may lose something, but you can help your recoil. Or if you're not so worried about the recoil, you can go the other way. And it's the incremental changes to it are noticeable for me. It's actually one of my favorite guns. Definitely my favorite gun right now. But within the last year, I think this is probably the most versatile, fun, weapon I've ever used. Actually, I really like the Cooper. I really like it, and I love its fire rate. It's got a really fast fire rate.
I mean, in terms of an AR, I'm trying to think if there's been another one.
FFAR? Was that an SMG?
I don't know if it really had the long range, though. Sniper support, it was kind of like broken meta. You just did massive amounts of damage. But in terms of versatility, I don't know if we've seen an AR like that, which is cool. I applaud that. And it seems it's kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none, perhaps. But if you're fitting into a specific playstyle, it can really help you excel. Like if you need a little niche, I don't know how to fucking pronounce that word, but if you need that filled, chances are you can find a Cooper to make it happen.
Yeah. And also what's great about it is that obviously it's Vanguard, so it has the fully loaded perk, which is such a nice thing.
Such a nice thing. Stupid fucking 10 attachments, but sure, yeah, let's just give them a leg up. I never worry about AR ammo anymore because I always have that, which is kind of wild.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Which is weird. But that said, in addition to that, in these patch notes, there was only some real minor adjustments. That was that the Gulag loadouts were tweaked to where stun grenades are no longer going to be in the Gulag.
I think that's a smart move. There's nothing more frustrating and kind of debilitating than being stunned in a Gulag situation.
Yeah. And it's kind of a guessing game. Like you throw it one side or the other, and if you hit, you're in bad shape.
Yeah.
All because the asshole guessed right.
Yeah, or, you could throw a stun and it hits a wall and it bounces back on yourself and you stun yourself and then you're really at a disadvantage.
Totally an amateur problem. Speaking of amateurs and amateur moments and shameless promotion, if you haven't subscribed or checked out our YouTube, please do so because yours truly, Tron, had quite the amateur moment this week, which I couldn't help but clip and share on our YouTube to regale you all. For those who missed it or want to check it out, I was redeployed in Rebirth Resurgence, dropped in hot on a loadout, a little too hot, to where I broke my legs. Immediately called out that I was sniped. Cowboy says, "Where were you sniped from?" I tried to keep in the laughter, but had to say it was from the heavens. Then I'm rezzed, thankfully, by a teammate. I immediately start a scavenger contract. I go to hunt down that first scavenger box. I see it on, just over a ledge here, slightly to the left. I'm going to take the quick route straight over the ledge. Well, As I'm doing that, vaulting the ledge, I go right into the ocean and die.
Yeah, I actually just watched that today for the first time, and yeah, pretty amateur shit. One of the more amateur moves I've seen you do in a while.
Whew, just when you thought, I might be scratching the surface of sweat lorddom.
What were you thinking jumping in the ocean like that? It was so obvious when I was watching it that you were going to go in. I don't know what...
I thought there was like a platform or something there. I was just trying to get to that scavenger fast. I had tunnel vision. I'm looking around for threats. I go, I'm going to vault. Oh, as soon as I hit it, it's like, oh, wait. Dead.
Wow. Cool. Yeah, check it out if you haven't. It gave me a good laugh.
Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a comment. Help us with the Overlord's analytics or algorithms. But that said, back to the patch notes. So stun grenades were removed. However, gas grenades, medical syringes or stim shots, and thermites were added to the gulag. Any thoughts on this?
Not really. I mean, gas grenades kind of are interesting because you kind of eliminate a certain portion of the tiny map that you're playing in, in the gulag. But I mean,
yeah,
stems, everyone's using them these days. Makes sense that they're there. Thermites, I mean, thermites you can throw like 500 yards. So it's kind of funny that they're in, I guess it's something you could stick an opponent with in close quarters. I mean, I don't know. This isn't, blowing my mind at all.
Well, let's talk about the gulag. I know early on my experience, which is somewhat limited, I was having a lot of good luck in this new gulag, this Vanguard gulag. Real good win percentage. But as of lately, it has flipped completely. Getting my ass kicked. How have you been doing is my first question. Secondly, do you have some sort of strategy that you're finding success with?
I would say this gulag has favored me more than others, but that still leaves me at about a 50-50, I think. Probably a little better lately. My strategy kind of depends on what side you're on. If you're on the side where you have that little container to your right-hand side, typically I go right to that and then kind of just I can wait there to see what their move is. And if it's the other, I basically go to the same side every time, which is the side that has the containers on it. And that's my strategy. Okay. It's not great, and I'm not great. So, but it's been working for me here and there. What about you?
So your strategy is kind of a let them come to you, post up, wait and see. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm like ADSing because I think I know they're going to come down that way. And if they don't, then it's all hell breaks loose. But if they do, I'll win sometimes.
Yeah, for me, I don't know if I necessarily choose that side or the other. I think I typically just go to the right, like regardless of what's there. I kind of was doing a wait and see thing, but kept getting killed. Now I'm shaking. I'm rattled in the gulag.
Is your confidence down? You don't know what to do?
Yes, and it's hurting me bad. Like, do I go in the middle? Do I not? I think, though, it really is. You got to be ADSing early. It seems like there's a lot of LMG action in the gulag, but not so good. So those of you out there, if you're having more luck than Tron and the Cowboy, we'd love to hear from you on Twitter, on however means of communication you can reach out. What are the strategies? Help us out.
Yeah, what are the cheat codes to the gulag? Because I'd like to know those.
Yes, give us the XY up 0 cheat codes, like in the old games, right? Those exist still, right?
I don't know. I never played video games.
Oh, shit. All right. Well, let's move on. The final additional change on the patch notes, which, praise the heavens, we talked about last week. It wasn't even really highlighted in here. I kind of found it and was immediately like, got up, cheered. Everyone around me was like, what the fuck is this guy doing? But I was like, you don't even know, man. And that is, they fixed the issue causing players to freeze during the early stages of a match.
You know what's interesting is I forgot about that until you just mentioned it, and I haven't had that the last few days. So kudos to them. They finally fixed it.
Exactly. Thank God they finally fixed it. It was becoming unbearable.
Yeah.
And of all times to have the game freeze, the early game, right when you drop, you hit the ground, like, come on.
Yeah, well, it was a game killer. It literally was getting to a point where I was and teammates were getting slaughtered right off the top, and it would end games. and it was really frustrating. So I'm glad that they fixed it. Seems like it took a little longer than it should have, but listen, it's not here anymore, so that's good stuff.
And the thing is, like, it hadn't really happened last time we talked about it, but since then I did have times where I was finding players that had it, and like they're just helpless little lambs that you would slaughter, and it doesn't even feel good to like kill someone like that.
Oh, I disagree there. I loved killing people. I'd execute them. I'd go up behind them and execute them.
Wow.
Yeah, I let them watch a little longer than they wanted to.
Well, speaking of executions, I should have clipped that. I got right behind this motherfucker yesterday playing. I held down the melee, bashed him in the back, and it didn't give me the execution. So I don't know if there's some glitches going on there. But just wanted to air that grievance for the Activision folks that I know are listening.
You know how to execute somebody, though? Have you done it before?
Fuck yeah.
Okay, just checking. I'm not sure, because you have to hold the button. You don't just push it.
Yeah, I held that motherfucker.
Okay. Just asking.
All right. Well, that said, let's talk about the state of the meta. We've kind of touched on it a little. But now that the PPSH has been nerfed, so to speak, or brought back in line, the Bren's still kind of up there. What do you have thoughts on the meta? Because I know True Game Data and that Warzone Loadout website kind of gave their own predictions, but I'm curious, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? Where are you Are you leveling any new guns, or are you sticking with that Cooper?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this is what's great right now, is that now that they've nerfed the PP, everyone's searching for the meta. It's not clear. There's not like one clear-cut gun. I think people are digging the Well gun. People are digging that Owen gun. The Cooper obviously is a favorite of people. I think that the Bren, if you had to choose the number one undeniably best gun in its class, it's the Bren, right? Like the Bren's probably the meta right now. But shorter range, I think it's kind of a smorgasbord of options, you know?
I agree with you. And again, seeing a lot of Cold War guns, seeing not really many Modern Warfare guns. But that said, True Game Data had anticipated they would be nerfing the Bren. They did not, but he predicts once that does happen, in terms of the AR or the long range meta, he actually thinks, which was interesting to see, that the DP-27 will likely be taking the mantle, and that is the large, I'm not sure if it's an AR or an SMG, it's a Vanguard gun, it's got like the saucer fucking magazine in it. As of now, apparently it slaps. Like, it's super viable. It's up there. But it sounds like if you want to get ahead of the game, you know, start anticipating the meta, that might be one you want to level up. Do you have any experience with that?
Which one is that?
The DP-27.
The
saucer magazine.
I do. I honestly probably have that leveled up fairly well just from ground loot usage. That gun, I can tell, has definitely had a buff. The ground loot is not that bad, especially I think it's either the blue or the purple one you can find. Ground loot comes with a scope on it, and it actually, the recoil is fairly low. It's kind of a little bit of a laser. I don't mind finding that gun. I'll roll with that as a secondary longer range option with my ground loot situation in the beginning of a match. I like that gun a lot. I also think the what is it? The KGM-40, I think it's called. The KGM-40?
The M40, yeah, as it's been referred to, the new one we discussed last week.
Yeah, we discussed that last week. I think that's also going to be, maybe if you're prepping, that can be a meta option as well. I think those two are going to be kind of rivals to the Bren here coming up.
Yeah, I used to shy away from that DP-27 as a ground loot, but now that I've kind of heard this news, I've not been fearing it. I've been using it and having some success. You definitely feel the power, not a ton of recoil. I honestly kind of like that Whitley still as a ground loot gun.
Do you? I stay away from that one. I don't like that one, actually.
I've just been having some luck, and I feel like that description they gave for it, what was it, cumbersome but reliable? Like, to me, if you can get the sights up, you can get it trained on someone, you can pretty much get it down. It's mostly in Caldera. I've been rocking that, but so that's kind of the predictions on the long range meta. In terms of the short range meta, True Game Data feels very strongly that it's the Well gun, whereas Warzone Loadout is kind of saying it's the Well gun, the Owen gun, the PPSH, and the Type 100 are the short range meta.
You know, I don't mind the Type 100. I seem to always play well with that gun. I don't know why, but those ground loot weapons seem to treat me well whenever I get those purple Type 100s.
Are you using any SMGs at all? Like, are any of these short ranges in your loadouts at the moment?
No, actually. I don't have the well gun unlocked. I don't have an Owen gun build. I don't have a Type 100 build. No, I actually don't.
All right, so it's got to be the Cooper or bust there. If you find you're losing those toe-to-toe fights, you might want to invest. I'm sure, especially guns like the Owen are leveled up somewhat because they're so common on ground loot. And there's a lot of just good ground loot builds you can just run with.
Yeah, I like the Owen gun's 72 mag capacity. I do like that about the gun because, I don't hit all my shots often.
I like that as well. But enough about, boots on the ground combat. One thing we really dove into, figuratively, literally flew into, is the aerial component of Vanguard, specifically flying the fighter planes, and you yourself getting pretty deep with the bomber planes. Do you want to share about this topic?
Yeah, we spent some time this week getting into the planes, and it's been really fun. We have a friend of the pod, Scared of Clowns, kind of got super deep into it. That's really all he likes to do now is fly the planes. And, we kind of followed suit, and it's been really fun. I myself am a bomber kind of guy, slow and steady and just dropping bombs, baby. Bombs are easier because it's not so much precision. You kind of just drop it and cross your fingers. When you're running the gunner in like one of the fighter jets, you got to be a little more precise. And, it took me a couple of times of just crashing into palm trees before I got used to this. But I do have fun playing it. Unfortunately, I think with the playlist update this week, there is only the Vanguard quads option right now. So before this last update, I think they had duos, trios, and quads. So we were getting on there, even if it was just you and a buddy, you could get in with the duos and, fly the planes for a while, which was really fun. But a little less since they've done that update. But I'm having fun with it. What about you? You plane guy now?
Well, before I answer that, I got to ask, I have not yet flown the fighter or the bomber plane.
You've got to try it.
I'm somebody who tries to master one thing before moving on. So I'm like, if I'm going to learn to fly, it's going to be in these fucking fighter jets. So I haven't tried the bomber, but can you take us through, like, how does it work? What's it like? What's the move there?
With bombing?
Yeah, baby.
Well, so obviously these airplanes are larger than the fighter jets, and they're not as mobile. They're not as agile either. Like it's harder to turn these. They're longer, more drawn out turns. They're slower. Like they're just like clunkier, bigger planes. Obviously, they're bombers, not fighter jets. So the key is, it took me a while to realize this, and watching some people that were really good at bombing. The key is well, one, you got to work with your team because the fighter jets can see a lot more than you because they're able to move and maneuver, and they see where more people are. So what we were successfully doing is they would ping like where a team was, and then with the bomber, when you're ADSing in the bomber, that's basically just you're looking down right underneath the plane, right? Because you're just dropping the bombs out from underneath you.
So you can switch to that view, see that bird's eye.
Yeah, I think it's
view.
L1. It's like ADSing a gun or whatever. The left trigger on, well, it depends on what console or PC or whatever it is, but it's just like ADSing a weapon. You ADS the plane, so you're looking straight down. The trick is that the plane just kind of keeps the line that you're on. You can't turn. You can go up and down to change your altitude, but you can't go left or right. So when you set your line, you're kind of hoping they're right underneath you. But here's the thing. I, at first, was dropping bombs from very high. I thought like, I'll just be like high cruising, dropping bombs, hope I'll hit someone. What I realized, and I got a little more experience and saw some better players, the move is to know where a team is, like getting it spotted by a teammate. Then when you're ADSing through the bottom of the bomber, you want to get nice and low to the ground, because the closer you are to the ground, the easier it is to like pinpoint accuracy of where you're dropping your bombs. I'm talking about flying right above the tree line, which is really dangerous because if you touch a tree, you'll blow up, and you don't have necessarily that control while you're ADSing. But that is the key, is to get really low to the ground, right on top of a team, and just drop all your bombs and just blow the place up.
Well, that's fascinating. I'm definitely going to make it a point to try the bomber.
We should hop the bombers together. There's also a gun aspect of the bomber, which is cool.
Really?
Yeah, but
can
you need two people.
One person man just the bombs, though, or no?
Yeah,
only the pilot?
One person can fly the plane, and drop the bombs as an individual, but with multiple people inside, I'm pretty sure that like one person's the pilot and one person can drop the bombs, and then they can like tell them like, oh, go to the right, go to the left, pull up, and then there's another seat in there that actually has a gunner where you can shoot out the side of the bomber.
Interesting. Well, I gotta say, kind of trashed on the aerial aspect, but I think like the way they've executed it, the way it's been implemented is cool. It's kind of a finesse vehicle. It's not something you just get in. You can fly around like a fucking, buzzing little bee. You got to kind of be precise, as you touched on. If you're going to bomb effectively, you got to set up those lines. You got to get low. You got to make those paths. I really like the aspect of like when your buddy's in a bomber and you're in a fighter plane that you can like kind of got to escort them around. Like they're under attack.
Yeah.
You got to come in there and be like, I'll get these fuckers off your back. The whole dog fighting thing, super fun. I'm a horrible pilot, but still having fun. And I know one setting we mentioned way back is to go in under your controls. It's, I think, invert look. You set it for me. I just did airplanes only, but you can do air vehicles only. But that was a huge help to kind of have up is down, down is up while manning the stick. Still a lot to learn, but yeah. And it's wild to me when you're doing that. It's just a completely different experience. Like, it's bizarre to realize, like, hey, there's teams that are playing Caldera like we normally do. Like, they're on the ground hustling, getting loadouts, fucking getting burned, moving to spots. Whereas we're just flying around the sky like, oh, having a good old time. If you're looking for, like, a less stressful, more relaxed kind of fun thing to do, check out the airplanes. Drop the airfield. You can find one. That was another thing I thought, like, oh, it's going to be really competitive to try and find a plane. There's tons of planes in the opening game. You can find one.
Yeah. Well, then the respawning of the planes is really great too, because it used, as you said, I really like how they changed it, and they've made it a kind of a playing point of the game. And I'm all about it, actually. I think it's really fun. And as you'll see, as we said, friends of ours now are completely dedicated to flying the airplanes, which is pretty cool. It's another dynamic aspect of the game.
Straight up getting air support from your teammates. That's awesome. Yeah, we're going to be playing that a bit more. Back on Caldera a lot more lately with that kind of rejuvenating things. But that said, that's kind of it for our gameplay experience firsthand accounts from the week. Let's though talk about some news that's been coming down the pipeline. First off is a report from Charlie Intel that said Raven and Activision are working on a feature set that would allow players to set matchmaking parameters much more specifically in terms of like specifying what platforms you want to go against, whether you want to play against controller players, keyboard and mouse players. Again, this is rumored. There's no confirmed release time, but it sounds like this is something they're working on. What are your thoughts on that?
I guess the thing is that sometimes it's hard to find matches. Sometimes you have to restart. It takes time. I don't know if that's a glitch in the system, but I guess what this says to me initially is, wow, there's a lot of players out there. There's enough of a player base that you have the option to play with. You get to choose how you want to do it. That's what I take away from this. I mean, we play with so many different types of platforms, and like, I don't know. How do you feel about this? This doesn't necessarily tickle me all that much.
I mean, to me, I think it's worthwhile, like, to have that ability. But one thing it kind of reminded me of is, us as PlayStation players, we have the ability to turn off crossplay. And I know we were kind of doing that early on, but especially since we've both had PS5s, I don't know if we've really done that. And I'm wondering if, in next time we're on, if it's real sweaty, we're having bad luck. I think if we have the option, we're not with a PC guy, we should go in, throw off crossplay. Because, I mean, all the more power to the players. I support that. Having that additional ability, like, you don't want to go against these fucking keyboard and mouse
sweats,
these PC guys with their massive FOVs, like,
with
cool,
their
give us that
big,
ability.
giant, massive FOVs.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I hear you.
So I think it's cool. Again, I'm not expecting this is going to be something that's coming to Warzone now, maybe future Warzone, but had to share that is kind of a rumor floating around the ether there.
Yeah. All right. That's cool. I mean, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I can't imagine the glitches and bugs that this is going to throw into the system once all of this is implemented. But hey, I'll try to be optimistic.
as always, we will try and look on the bright side. But in terms of rumors, potential things coming to Warzone, it's been a while since we've had a crossover event, a new content thing. We had a lot of them in Black Ops. We had the John McClane, the Rambo. I feel like there was one other thing. I guess we got Krampus on holidays here for Vanguard, but some data miners that came out that apparently found hints that there could be a new crossover / collaboration coming to Warzone. And this one is a little bizarre because it doesn't involve actual human characters. It involves the world of King Kong and Godzilla.
Wow. I didn't know about this. This is my first time hearing of this. For one, I love King Kong and Godzilla, mostly the older films.
Really?
I do. I'm a King Kong Godzilla kind of guy. I've always been into that. I mean, the newer Godzillas and some of them are total trash. But I mean, like historically, the concept of King Kong, the concept of Godzilla, I'm all about. And I know this seems like it's out of nowhere, but I don't see this as character integrations. My first instinct is like, we're on an island in the South Pacific. We're talking King Kong and Godzilla coming from the water, giant creatures onto Caldera. You have to fight them. I am into that. Like, I could totally see King Kong running around like fields and jumping between that bridge near. You see what I'm saying? Like, I could totally see that going on. This map is perfect for a King Kong character.
Like as an NPC enemy or aspect of the map?
Yes, exactly. And maybe even Godzilla.
Mothra.
Maybe they're fighting each other. I mean, imagine if you killed King Kong on the map. Like, what does that loot like, baby?
I don't know. Do you think Mothra might make an appearance?
I hope so.
Always loved Mothra, a giant moth of a character.
Okay, I feel like you're now making fun of the Godzilla universe, and that's offensive to me.
I've never really been one for Godzilla or King Kong. Certainly don't feel that like, oh, the earlier films are better than the latter. Just doesn't really tickle my fancy. A little bit too grand of a story. But I do think Godzilla of the two is way more badass. Like, he fucking sleeps in the ocean and then just appears, and he's got like his fucking spikes and shoots his lasers out of his mouth and shit. That's cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's cool too. Or do you see Godzilla coming out of the water on a caldera?
I mean, I could see him, swinging around like fucking all of a sudden you're there and he pops up and is like, "Roar," doing crazy shit. I don't know. Again, this is rumored, not confirmed. Could potentially maybe be something they worked on that just got scrapped and they've now since found relics of it in the data leaking, whatever it is. But we'll keep y'all up to date. Last time this was rumored for Rambo, and that did come true, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see how they approach it. It could be horrible, but hey, it could be fun.
But in terms of Call of Duty, in terms of the future of Warzone, of the standalone games, there was some massive news that dropped this week, which kind of touches on storylines we've been trending again. It's the 60 minutes. You can hear the timer ticking in the background. And that is, though, Activision confirmed that. So we know that Call of Duty 2022 is going to be the new Modern Warfare. And as of the history of the history of Call of Duty, period, I believe, is there's a new standalone game damn near every year as of recent. Well, they've announced that that is not going to be the case, that there will not be a Call of Duty standalone game in 2023. They're delaying that by 1 year. So, as I said, the new Modern Warfare will be coming in the fall of 2022, and the year following that, 2023, is going to be a year off. But they plan, essentially, what does this mean is that Activision plans to support Call of Duty 2022 with a steady stream of content for 2 years, including the new Warzone. They also said they made this decision after Vanguard failed to meet expectations, and they're concerned that the games are releasing too often. They said it doesn't have anything to do with the Microsoft deal, which, again, still isn't even final.
Yeah, I mean, one, I think that is probably a good observation. They're pumping these games out over and over. It's like, just update one. like Vanguard was unnecessary. They just needed a new map. You know what I mean? They didn't have to create this whole new game. You know what I mean? The weapons, all this shit, like we just wanted a new map. We didn't need a whole new game. So yeah, I feel like they're forcing that kind of stuff down our throat. The only thing, and also that jumps out to me is this, as long as, yeah, they could skip a year, but don't take Warzone 2 away from us, baby. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to take years off of that. We want the Warzone.
Well, I mean, you got to imagine that. This is going to allow them to dedicate more resources, more time, more teams to the new Warzone if they're not rushing. Because, I mean, that's a fast turnaround to drop a new standalone game every single year. And on top of that, yeah, be supporting Warzone. So to me, I mean, I'll ask you first, actually, before I give my take. So do you think this is a good thing, bad thing, neutral? What are your thoughts?
I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. I think spacing it out, having more focus, like you said, is a good thing. It's almost like, Disney was great when they like focused on like their stories and it wasn't like they were pumping something out quarterly. You know what I mean? It's like the more time you take to like finesse the product, the better it's going to be and people are going to be more happy. I'd rather wait around for get a product that's fantastic than like get something that's mediocre more often. You know what I mean? So I'm in favor of that. I think this is a good idea.
110% in agreement. When it comes to games, it's all about quality over quantity. And I mean, how much can you, it goes to, I don't want to rant about sports games and all that, because that's a topic for another podcast or whatever, but it's like, how much can you really innovate if you're dropping a fucking new game every year? Like, really? And again, as soon as the new one's out, like, how much are you really going to be dedicating to innovating with that? If you're already looking ahead to, you got to push one out in 6 months. We need a trailer for this new one in fucking 6 months, like, blah, blah, blah. So to me, I think this is twofold, like, benefits. One is Modern Warfare 2022. It shows them that they have confidence in that game. If they think that can carry for 2 years, it's going to be a hell of a game, I think. And again, it's going to give them that much, oomph to put into Warzone 2 to kind of fill that gap. So I think that's awesome. And on top of that, it gives, I think it's Treyarch who are going to be working on the next Call of Duty, which will be 2024. It gives them an extra year. So I think it's just a win-win, especially for us. And we don't have to go, we don't ourselves here, Cowboy, but you don't got to go shell out another $60 in 2023. You just keep enjoying Modern Warfare 2022.
Do you think they'll raise the prices?
No, I think it'll be a next gen title. So just by de facto, we'll have because the PS5 and the Xbox new ones are $70. So I think they'll be kind of that, but I don't think it'll be any more expensive beyond that.
Okay. We'll see. Who knows?
So that's the big news. Again, I think the community is overwhelmingly supporting this. Nobody's like, oh, I want my yearly fucking Call of Duty game. Like, no. Again, Vanguard was a miss. This clearly confirms it. I didn't know the sales weren't that good, but not surprised. Like, I don't really feel like I'm missing much with Vanguard, except maybe the ability to unlock the well gun for Warzone. But bravo to that. That said, some more news came out, which we weren't able to cover. This is a few weeks old, but it's a topic and a discussion we've been having since the bombshell news about Activision being acquired by Microsoft. The existential question of, will it remain, cross-platform, available for all, or will it be taken behind the walled garden of Microsoft and Xbox and become exclusive? And there was some vagueness in terms of, the commitment to that, saying they're only going to be entertaining existing agreements with Sony. Well, in a new blog post, Microsoft said they're committed to releasing Call of Duty through the term of any existing agreement, but they said, and also make them available on PlayStation beyond the existing agreement.
Good. Didn't they already say that, though? Wasn't that already what they said they were going to do?
Well, no, the first part, yes, but that second part about they're committed to making it available on PlayStation beyond the existing agreements, that was kind of left unsaid. So to me, this seems like a pretty clear marker that, like, hey, we're going to keep it going, which we touched on. It doesn't make sense to make an exclusive, like, especially if Warzone 2 is the big shebanger. You want the massive player base. You want people buying those blueprints, buying those skins, buying those King Kong, whatever they're going to
Godzilla, Mothma, yeah.
Yeah. Mothra,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay, but again, like blog posts talk is cheap. Like sign some contracts here. You know what I mean? Like I want to see,
Well,
I want to see ink. I want to see ink, baby.
Digital see
ink.
it written in blood.
Yes, exactly.
Seal.
I want to see I want them both to cut their hands and then shake and share their bodily fluids in a sign of dedication. That's what I want to see.
Well, we will await that ceremony. Until then, all we have are these words and promises. But that's it in terms of news. However, we have an excellent tip which was shared with us on our Discord by a user and friend of the podcast. His name is a 36-year-old dad, which
great name.
Kind of funny because he's probably older than that now. But if you're ever wondering, like, what is my PR in Warzone? What is my PR on Caldera or Verdansk? What is my PR on Rebirth? Which I certainly was, I thought I knew, but I was curious, wanted to confirm. Well, you can go and find that information actually very easily. And the steps are, you're going to want to go to cod.tracker.gg. And then you're going to go look up your gamer tag or your friends. I can go scope on Cowboy, check out his PR.
Great.
Once you have that looked up, you're going to see a matches tab, large tab at the top. You're going to want to select that. And then it's a little tricky. You got to scroll down a little bit and you're going to see two tabs. You'll see one of them, though, labeled Best Matches. You select that, you're going to see in descending order your best PRs. So you're only going to see your best match, you're going to see your second best, third best, all that. So it's pretty cool, especially, want to flex your hog or just set your benchmarks for how you're performing. Did you go and take a look at your PR there this week, Cowboy?
I didn't take a look at it this week, though, but I did take a peek at it when I was trying to get my Z League profile set up, and I had some issues there with my gamer tag, and I actually had to make it all lowercase to match. It was a total pain in the ass. But I did see my PR at that point, and it was impressive to say the least. What about you?
Yeah, I checked it out. It was what I thought, which was it's on for our Patreon users. The video of the full gameplay of my PR round is out there, so check it out. But you mentioned Z League, and that is actually perhaps our final topic of today, which it seems like among our group of Warzone friends, our little clan collective of friends who play, who chat, seems like the tournament fever has taken over the friend group, specifically these Z League tournaments. Now, I myself, unfortunately, with the very irregular gaming schedule, can't commit to these time slots, have been unable to play. But I believe you have, so I was curious if you could give the Cowboys first impressions on kind of the Z League tournament scene for Warzone.
Yeah, so my initial impression was horrible because I had signed up, very excited to play a tournament, and then within 15 minutes of the tournament starting was denied because of some error. It kept saying that I was changing my username, which I hadn't. It was and I was in a quad, I was letting everybody down because of one person, it screws everything up. So I was the loser and I was the outcast and I was shunned. So that was my initial experience. Negative, not good. But over the next couple of days, I spent probably too much time trying to correct that. As I said, I had to change my username, which didn't work, but now it's changed and I can't change it back. Long story short, when I got into the tournament and I was actually able to play, I really enjoyed it. Shit gets real. Shit gets serious when you're playing for keeps. You know what I mean? Even though it was a free tournament and technically we weren't playing for anything, it was still, you start focusing. You're in it. You're communicating. You're it's no longer it doesn't matter if Tron is stealing your kills because it's for the betterment of the team. And I really enjoyed that. And I would do it again. It is tricky because you do have to schedule the tournaments with friends or whomever you want to play with. You can go on our Discord, and I'm sure there's people that are going to be scheduling shit. You can talk to them there, but it is really fun, and it adds another level of excitement and just pizzazz to the game. I think it's really, I think this thing is going to blow up. I think if it hasn't already, this is great for the game, great for Warzone. And our friends are making some money. It's funny, they're making a couple bucks here, a couple of bucks there, winning these tournaments. And what's really nice is they separate it out, so you're not going against mega sweats if you're an ultra shitty player like the Tron. It's been really fun. But you haven't played any yet?
I have not, kind of eager to, but yeah, the feedback overwhelmingly positive from our friends group. Hungry. Some of our friends now, I'm hard to find games with them because they're like, sorry, I got a fucking tournament at 3:00, trios. But it is cool the way that they kind of organize it all. They track it all. You just sign up online. Tons of them are free. Others are paid. I'm not really sure the mechanics of the currency and all that, how it works, but I think it's cool. But to me, what this really says is adding the feature for ranked play. Like, clearly there's a massive appetite for that, because I've talked to friends who run these Z Leagues and I'm like, do you think if they added ranked, like, would that lure you more away from the tournaments? They're like, yeah, I think that'd be cool. But applause to Z League. If there are any big Z League tournaments out there and you need a commentator, as we said, you know where to holler.
Honestly, if there's like a Z Leaguer listening to this podcast, we are happy to sponsor Z League, or if they want to sponsor us, probably more importantly, we will take your hard-earned cash. We will play for you. We will put logos on any part of us, and I'm all about it. So let us know. We're ready to sell out.
That's right. But again, like, we love stuff for the amateurs. To me, like, this is the tournament for the amateurs. Like you said, it's based on your skill level. You can find a less sweaty game. The way it works is, you just drop in your matches and it's tracking your shit. So get in, get out, get it done. That, though, is going to do it for us this week on the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. Again, jam-packed episode. As part of this outro, we've talked about, regaling you with the kill of the week. Well, it was meant to be last week, but your boy Tron had a fancy-dancy kill that I'm going to be uploading on our YouTube, and I hit a hell of a grenade toss, straight up Tom Brady, anticipating a guy like, he's on a slant route, cutting across, leading him, landing right in his pathway, kaboom. So check that out.
Nice job. Nice job.
Well, we will talk to you all next week. Thank you all so much for dropping in with us. As we said, like, subscribe, follow, leave us reviews on Spotify. Check us out on fucking YouTube. Give us all the exposure.
Let me clarify that. Leave us a review if you listen to your podcasts on Apple Pods. Leave us a rating if you listen to the podcast on Spotify. If you watch any of our videos or you ever go on YouTube, give us a fucking subscribe, baby. It means a lot to us, and we're getting so close to some major milestones that will allow us to divert more energy and attention to this whole Warzone thing that we're doing. So, yes, thank you, and just keep at it, baby.
Keep at it. Even Gorilla, you're in a round. If you do Phil, you listen to podcasts, check out the Warzone Amateur Hour.
Yeah, or if what I've been doing is I like to, on like a death comm, I'll be like, I get killed and be like, Warzone Amateur Hour podcast, you suck. Say something like that. Spread it out. Like, give them a nice little diss, but then also add the Warzone Amateur podcast name out there. So you feel good about yourself, but then you also, give your enemy a little shit. That's what I like to do.
But do also represent the Amateur Hour with, class and dignity. But we love you all. Thank you for dropping in with us. We will talk to you next week, as always. And until then,
good luck in the gulag.